Welcome back, everybody, to the Quiet Light Podcast. This is Mark, your host. I'm really excited to have Adam from Reliable Education on today's episode. We're going to talk about Amazon training, and there's a lot of sizzle out there. There's a lot of hype, and very few people are giving the real deal with Amazon training. The timing of this episode is really timely because Adam and his group is also putting on a really cool conference coming up literally this weekend from the time that you're going to hear this episode air. You guys have extended a very nice discount to our listeners for this. And guys, look, the big speaker, the big name at this conference is myself, and I have Seth Godin and Grant Cardone opening for me. No, I'm just joking. They have Seth Godin and Grant Cardone speaking at this as the keynote speakers, which is really, really cool. I'm super honored to be a part of the speaking lineup. Super honored to have you on, Adam, to talk about Amazon training, because you've been doing this for a long time. 14,000 students, 47 different countries, 1.1 billion in verified sales. That is amazing. Real quick, before we jump into this, just a reminder to our audience, this is brought to you by Quiet Light Brokerage. We've been helping people sell their Amazon businesses, SaaS businesses, content businesses since 2006. If you want to find out how much a business is worth, get a free valuation done. We don't ever push you into a sale. It's really just to help you understand what the value of your asset is. Again, that's Quiet Light Brokerage. But Adam, I'm super excited to have you on here.
Great to be here, Mark. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to do this.
Yeah, I got to say, I've had a lot of guests on the podcast, and oftentimes my favorite has been, I think I had somebody on who was in their kitchen and it was like kind of dirty in the background. You're speaking to me from like a legit studio. This is awesome. I love your setup.
Yeah, it's pretty cool space, actually. We have two sound stages here. That's sort of our news desk, and then it goes around to one of our other sets. And as you can see on the wall there, world's best Amazon training, which we painted on the walls from the day we moved into this space, because that's what we're all about. And we're a proper business that's really invested into this space, which has traditionally been pretty skeezy and snake oily. And so I'm really happy to share what I can to help your audience today.
Well, this is why I wanted to have you on, because when we were talking last, we were talking a little bit about the school, Rhino School, that you have coming up here, and we're going to be talking about that at the end of this episode here. But you mentioned that you're in a space which is kind of sleazy at some points. I'm like, oh, do I ever feel you on that? I certainly understand. The brokering industry sometimes has a dirty reputation for pushing people into selling and for people that are just chasing the buck. And the training space, you mentioned that a little bit as far as that. How did you get started into this space, and what's really been your motivation as you've started Reliable Education?
So I was living in the US from 2011 to 2015, and I was in finance previously. I used to help entrepreneurs raise money, and I wanted a complete change. And so I moved to Los Angeles after selling out of my company, which nearly went broke in 2008, went through a really hard time, managed to recover it, sell it, moved to the US, and I wanted to do something creative. So I was in the animation business. I built that company up and sold it in 2015. We were just in the right place at the right time. We worked really hard as well. And I started Amazon as a side hustle while I was in LA, because I could see where e-commerce was going, and I wanted to do something where I physically held a product in my hand. There's just something about creating a physical product that I could be proud of and go, this is my thing. Whereas most of my life, I'd made money through financial services and digital sort of stuff. And so I did it for fun, and it started to work, much to my surprise. Little do I know, looking back now, obviously 2011 was a great time to be getting into Amazon. And when I came back to Australia in 2015, after selling my animation company, one of my motivations for starting on Amazon was that I could move back to wherever I wanted to be, and I'd still have the income going. And being an Australian, we only have 25 million people in the whole country, which is less than California. So to be able to sell to Americans and live in Australia was like a dream come true, because, you guys live in the Willy Wonka factory of entrepreneurship over there. It was just such an ideal business. And so a lot of my Australian friends were saying, how did you build that Amazon business? Because at the time it was doing, and it was a side hustle, it was netting me about 350,000 US dollars a year, which in Australian money is about 10 grand a week. And it was literally, I would spend, 2 hours a day, if that, on it. I only had like 6 products. So everybody was asking me, how did you do that? So I started showing people, and then I thought, I'm just going to put together a course. And then but when I was going to go into the course space, I felt dirty with most of what I saw online, with almost everything from share trading, forex trading, because at the end of the day, selling information attracts a certain person because the margins are the highest in any industry. And so people figure out there's a lot more money selling information than there is oftentimes doing anything else. So you get these people who are just marketers and not actual business people. And I've been a business person last time I had a job, I was 20. So I've been an entrepreneur for 27 years as I sit here and talk to you today. So my motivation was I found my business partner. I said, listen, Joe, I'll do this, but I want to be the least sleazy, straight up, course people in the business. I don't want to tell people it's easy. I want to tell them it's hard. I want to tell them it takes a lot of effort. Everyone told us we'd fail, and then we didn't. So that's how we got started.
So what are, outside of not running ads with you standing in front of your Lamborghini and private jet and all the things that JP Sears, he started out with his comedy career basically making fun of the guru, right? Outside of that, what's the difference in your opinion as to how you've tried to approach this industry of training people in how to run an Amazon business? And I'm not asking you to call out competitors in general, right? We're just talking about general practices. What do you try and focus on with your training, and that you think maybe some of the other marketers, not business people, miss?
Well, first of all, in Australia, if you did any of that stuff with a Lamborghini or a jet, they would hammer you. Like in Australia, they hate that stuff. You would never get away with that. They would destroy you in about 1 month. Here, you can do well, but not too well. We have a tall poppy syndrome, and they'll take your head off. So the first thing is, one thing I truly believe about success in anything is that if you prepare people by telling them it's going to be hard, their chances of success in a hard thing are much higher. And I know there are studies that actually prove this. If people are told something's going to be easy and then it's not, their likelihood of staying the course is very low. So we would tell people it is a challenge, because let's face it, I jokingly say to people, no, it's not hard at all. We live in Australia. We buy stuff from people who don't speak English, that we're in a country we've never been to, in an industry we've never been in. We private label it. We ship it from one side of the world to the other, to another market where we're never going to visit, and sell it to people in another currency and who live in states we're never going to meet. And somehow our money's going to find our way back to our bank accounts every 2 weeks. That's Amazon, right? It's international supply chain, distribution, sourcing, branding. It's an absolute act of alchemy, right? So it is a challenging thing to learn, which is why, in Market Pulse, they came out with an article 2 years ago saying that there's something like 3,000 Amazon seller accounts opened every day, but only 1.9% of people that open an account actually list the product. So 98.2% of people open and just never list a single thing because it's so challenging. So we tell people it's tough. The other thing we do is we in the very beginning, the first 3 years, we interviewed everybody who bought our course. So we do a webinar, they go to the sign up link, they pay. Then we'd actually have an onboarding call with them and ask them how much money they have for inventory. If they said like 2-3 grand, we'd say, listen, we're going to refund you. Come back when you've got 10 grand. And we handed back at one point about $2 million a year of refunds started by us, where we said, come back later. And that's unheard of in our business. As a result of that, we curated a community of people that were like, wow, I've been accepted into this program. I've been vetted. And that's why, if you look at our number that you read out there, 1.1 billion from 14,000 people, it works out at, I don't know the number, but it's something like 100 grand or 200 grand or something on average per student, which in this industry where most people don't start when they buy a course, it's an amazing, amazing number. Especially considering they're just mums and dads sitting around in their spare rooms selling stuff globally. So we do stuff like just setting the right expectations is a huge part of it, and really, really drilling into the finer points of product choice, and not doing this thing like just get something from China, put a fancy box and a logo on it, and you're going to win on Amazon. That's not true anymore. You just won't. You are competing against a hungry, rising tide of global marketplace that is trying to get from, sometimes lower class to middle class, and you got to beat them, and they're hungrier than you.
Yeah. The way that you explain the mechanisms and the complexities of an Amazon business, I think is eye-opening in and of itself, right? Because at its core, we look at Amazon business and say it's pretty simple. We know Amazon's a big giant, throw it on the marketplace. But there's a lot of different logistics here behind the scenes that you have to take into account and become really apparent. Your first Q4, right? The first time you try and get that inventory ordering right, and it doesn't show up on time, or it shows up too early, you order too much, you order too little, or what have you. You have a product problem. It's complex, absolutely complex. You mentioned a stat on there, and want to just pick your brain for it because it's actually the second time I've heard it today, and I cannot remember the exact number. What percentage of people open up a store but never actually put a product on it?
1.8% of Amazon accounts that get opened end up listing a product.
That's right.
So the rest don't. So when people hear this number, I think in the last Market Pulse report, which came out for 2020 review, it came out about a month ago, 3,500 accounts a day are opened. And people freak out at that. But you go, don't worry, only 2% of those people have got the fortitude to get to the start line. Like the ladder is only crowded at the bottom. So that's what we really condition our people for, that journey, because it is tough to get a product to market, which is why I find it so heartbreaking when people get a product to market, fail with that product and quit. And I'm like, dude, you've got so much intellectual property now. Amazon works. It's just a case of you finding the right product. Don't take it so personally. Just keep marching forward.
Yeah. Again, it's the second time I heard that stat today. So it's an amazing stat to just kind of chew on for a minute and to see what the marketplace actually looks like. Let's talk about the benefits of training in general, because I know for myself, my ego is massively huge in many ways, where I sometimes recoil as an entrepreneur. I sometimes recoil at somebody telling me that they know a better way to do something, right? And so training sometimes feels counterintuitive until I knock myself down a few pegs and realize that I'm not the smartest person in the room, which is almost always the case in reality. What are some of the benefits of an Amazon training program? Obviously for a beginner, but maybe even for somebody more seasoned and who's been around for a while, maybe has a product on the marketplace.
I'm learning golf at the moment for the first time. And I'll tell you what, you quickly learn the power of training when you try to play that game.
Yeah, that's a humbling sport, isn't it?
It's such a challenging sport. Tiny ball, a long way to go.
Can you imagine playing in front of a crowd and like completely chunking it? Because
dude, seriously, I got a new respect for these guys that have the whole world watching them with every stroke. Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, look, I think it goes back to very simple, like you can go right back to, Think and Grow Rich, the power of a mastermind. When two or more minds get together, a third mind is formed. And that third mind is the mastermind. So there's just, Amazon in particular is the type of business that if you're too close to it and you've got the wrong voices in and around you, you can develop really solid biases that are just, the thing about Amazon is that it's a dispassionate market. The great thing is you can go along and say, right, I want to sell these glasses on Amazon. From day one, once everything's done, I've sourced my product, I've got my logo, got my box, I've got my photos, done everything. I can go in there next week and buy 1,000 clicks to that offer. And a week later, I'm going to know, does the market want this product at this price? And the market doesn't care who you are, doesn't care where you're from. It is a pure market economics. So training helps you get past your biases, and it helps you see things not, because we all bring biases to things. We have things we like in life. We have things we don't like. We have types that we like, colors that we like, shapes that we like. But the market is the market. And these days with software tools like ZonGuru and Helium 10 and all these other things that are out there, you can get so much data, but you've still got to find the product that people want at the price you want. And you've got to differentiate in a way that matters. It's not enough just to differentiate. You have to differentiate in a way that matters and the market wants. And nailing that nuance is the part that is the hardest for people to learn because of their biases. And then there's the other things, like just all the technical things, like how to do a barcode and how to do this and how to do that. All those resources, having instant access to those resources, like in our private Facebook group, we have tens of thousands of questions that have been answered over the last 5 years by our 14,000 students. You can go in there and type in a keyword and bang, there's 50 posts with people from all over the world there answering it that have all had the same type of education. And if there's not an answer, you can go and type it in and someone will give you an answer overnight. So it's just drawing on the wisdom of experience, there's nothing that can beat that.
And I think that crowd as well, right? The Facebook group, being able to keep up with trends, because Amazon is a changing marketplace all the time, right? Their requirements are changing. Oh my goodness, just go reverse 1 year ago. And I know nobody really wants to do that because 1 year ago is at the beginning of the pandemic and everything. But look at all the changes that we had to navigate. Sellers had to navigate importing goods, not being able to import goods. China was shut down at this point, last year, beginning to shut down. It was a difficult time to navigate through that, and having the crowd wisdom is invaluable.
And just, the cost of training, let's say it's a couple of grand for a course, like just little things, like if you've got a product with a USB port on it, right? And you don't know about USB, like USB is a trademark that is monitored at the ports worldwide. If you import something without the right with the USB on there, but without the right paperwork, your whole shipment gets stopped and you have to then pay royalties at the gate. There's these kinds of little tiny things, and there's loads of them, safety certificates, bag sizes, warnings, all these things. It doesn't take much before the cost of training is insignificant compared to the disaster that could be waiting for you.
Yeah, my sister started a candle business recently, and she was telling me about just how much she had to learn, not only about the product itself, but then on the business side as well. And you can just imagine, I mean, you're a business guy, you understand as you start to drill down, well, there's product considerations here. What type of wick are you going to use? How are you going to source them? What is the placement of that wick? What type of wax? What sort of wax composition? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you get into the liability of having a product that people literally set on fire and everything that can go in there. And now you throw in a marketplace, it's tough, right? There's a lot of things to consider there. Fantastic. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Rhino School, the conference coming up, the one being headlined not by myself, but by you, by Grant Cardone, by Seth Godin. How many conferences I'm imagining this is not the first conference you guys have done to be able to get those sort of headliners.
Yeah, we do one a year, Mark, and the reason we do it is to bring our community together. Normally, we only open it to our students, but this year we're doing it virtual and opening it up to the world. It's where we recognize achievement. So in our community, we have awards ranging from when they reach $10,000 a month up to $1 million in a year. And this year we've got, and we call that a white rhino. And when they get to 100 grand a month, they're a rhino. And then we have students who are doing $1 million a month. Our best students doing 25 million a year right now. So we hand out awards, 180 award winners, I think, this year. And then we have the keynotes. And then we have student speakers from all over the world sharing on particular areas of strength. And as I say, we used to do them physically. Last year, we had the entire convention center here booked out. We had 2,500 people booked, $2 million event, and then it got stopped the week before it was to go on. So we had to convert to virtual. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity for people to see real people, like ordinary everyday people telling their stories. We have panels. And then we have Seth Godin coming in to talk about how to get into a race to the top as opposed to the race to the bottom, because Seth's not the biggest fan of Amazon. So it was an interesting choice for us to try and get him to come on, just because he believes that Amazon wants everybody to sell everything for as little as possible, so that they can just get their fees, which is not wrong, but there is still ways to make money. So yeah, it's a virtual event, 3 days. Seth's coming. Grant Cardone's speaking on the first day, Seth on the Sunday. And then a whole bunch of really interesting, real people that are everything from making their first $10,000 a month, getting to $10,000 a month, right up to people doing $1 million a month, and lots of interaction and stuff in there as well.
That's interesting. A race to the bottom versus a race to the top. And I would, I've often talked to Amazon sellers about this, and not that I am an Amazon expert in particular as far as the building of an Amazon business. But that idea of trying to be price competitive on Amazon just does not seem like a winning strategy ever.
You might win. That's the problem. If you're in a race to the bottom and you win, you're in trouble. There's things like, the average cost of a click on Amazon right now is 88 cents. And you need 8 clicks on average to get a sale. So you're buying customers for $7 through PPC. So if you're selling a product for $15, then how are you going to make money? Right? Because you're going to be invisible from day one. You need to have $7 to buy customers. So you may as well sell something for $100, where you haven't got 10 million Chinese university students who are trying to find products for $2 and sell them for 20. You can move up to that $100 category where your gross margin might be $30 and you can spend $8 on traffic to get yourself started and you're still making money. So just little things like that. And these types of things you learn from the most experienced sellers. A lot of our most successful sellers are now moving towards that $70 and up type of product rather than fighting it out, because all the course guys tell you, yeah, just get something for $2 and sell it for 20. And they say that because everybody goes, well, I can get 1,000 products, $2 each. I'm in business for $2,000 on Amazon. Yay, buy my course. But now you're competing against literally millions of Chinese university students and, people from all over the world. And they're just like Hail Marys.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. This sounds fascinating. I love the idea that you're bringing in students that are actually doing some of this work and having real life success to talk about their stories. Are there any particular topics that are being covered that might be of interest or that you'd like to highlight?
We've got this guy called Mark coming in from Minnesota. He's going to talk about how to get your business sold.
Yeah, skip that guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention. No, but we've got people who've bought Amazon FBA businesses and scaled them. We've got people who have had massive runaway successes. Like we have one lady coming in who did launch a $5 product. Well, she bought it for like $5, sold it for $25. It turned out making her $300,000 a month. The New York Times picked it up and featured it. But she said it was the worst thing that ever happened to her because she couldn't keep up. Every dollar she had and could beg, borrow, and steal, she put into it. And then copycats came, and now today she's diversified her business, and she has a suite of products doing between $10,000 and $30,000 a month, and her life is a lot better. So we have those types of people. It's all on the page that we've got there for you. We've got we've got a guy called Matt Fraser who actually owns a Hungry Jack's franchise. And he's doing about $500,000 a month on Amazon and about $500,000 a month off Amazon. And what he does is he goes to companies that are not online here in Australia, inventors and stuff, and says, hey, would you like to sell your products in America? And they're like, yeah. So, well, look, can I get the rights to the US? What I'll do is I'll take 100 units, you give them to me, I'll sell them. If we get traction, then I want to sign a contract with you. And so he's gone into partnership with these little medical devices now with different companies. And he's doing, as I said, $1 million a month at 35% net margin from home with 4 virtual assistants and nothing else. So he's coming in to tell his story. And he's going to show you the funnels. He's going to show you inside his PayPal account, inside his Amazon stuff. It's really interesting. So they're real people, and they're not coaches or teachers or people who've got my pearly white smile. They're just real ordinary people that talk about what they're doing, how they're doing it. And where we've had a lot of success is we get into the granular. It's not this high level stuff. It goes into the granular, and we drill into the details of what they're doing and how they're doing it.
That's awesome. And I got to say, what really attracted me to have you on the podcast today was just the idea that you're out here with a bit of a mission, and it really emanates from you when you talk about this space to give people the right expectations as to what they're getting into. That this is not easy money necessarily. You do things right, and yes, you can be in the situation that you were in, where you were working a couple hours a week and making really good money as a side hustle. That's possible. But it's not a snap your fingers sort of thing, and we're going to go, right? And we're off to the races. There's real work that has to be done behind the scenes. You're going to put those hours in, but you do things right, you're going to get there. And I think, knowing myself and my entrepreneurial spirit, and I know I'm not alone in this, some people do recoil a bit at the idea of training, or think this isn't for me, or maybe that's for beginners and I'm not a beginner sort of thing. Just want to encourage people that are listening to this. 14,000 students in 47 different countries. You're doing something right? Your students aren't leaving. They're staying with you. You're doing something right by them. They're seeing success. That's evidenced by the 1.1 billion in sales that your students are doing. So just congratulations on that. Congratulations on the big names that you're getting here to the conference as well. Really exciting as far as that. And I know, for those listening, I apologize that we're airing this episode so late. Scheduling was just tight on all of this and trying to get this in. And I know that for somebody who does want to get in on it, you guys put together a special offer page for Quiet Light listeners. I'm not getting any kickback for this. I really just want people to attend this because it's useful and it's worth attending. What is the short link for that?
Yeah, the link is REL, so R for Robert, E, and then L for Lima, .link, like LINK/quiet light, all lowercase, all the way through with no spaces. And what we've done for you guys, Mark, is that the event is $297 for all 3 days, and we make the recordings available for 7 days for all ticket holders afterwards. But for you guys, it's just $97, so it's $200 off. Just because we appreciate you are very kind in coming in and speaking to our students. So it's just a small way to give back to your community. So $97 for all 3 days, and the recordings are available for 7 days afterwards, because I know many of your listeners are probably in the US and might not be able to join all sessions. You'll probably get the morning sessions here, but the afternoon sessions you may be in bed, and you can watch those for a week later.
And for those that have not caught on yet, might be a little bit slower. You are talking to me on the other side of the world, down in Australia. That's why he talks funny, folks. And he spelled out REL so specifically, which is short for reliable and reliable.education. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Anything that you want to share with the listeners before we leave here?
No, Mark, just thanks for your attention. I know it's a crowded world these days, and if we get 30 minutes of people's time, it's a huge privilege. So thanks so much.
Cool. Thanks for coming on.